The French author Voltaire once said that with great power comes great responsibility. I think Hyundai have got that mixed up a little bit with this car, because with the great responsibility of this car being an electric car comes great power. All 640 brake horsepower of it. But don't think for a second that this is going to be another insanely quick yet ultimately sterile EV. Oh no, this is more than that. Much more. Welcome to this week's road test review. Welcome to the, and spoiler alert here, frankly stupendous Hyundai Ioniq 5N. And as always, welcome to AutoEV. Now, when I learned that Hyundai were going to do a performance derivative of the really rather brilliant Ioniq 5, I was at first a little bit nonplussed about it. You see, just recently, we've been here before, haven't we, with these kind of performance EVs. I mean, recently we road tested this car's cousins, the Kia EV6 GT and the Genesis GV60 Sport Premium Plus against the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT. And whilst we did like them, ultimately it's the models lower down the range that we prefer, because whilst those high performance EVs give blisteringly quick 0 to 60 times, they deplete the range and actually the dynamics maybe leave a lot to be desired. So what have Hyundai done that's different with this car to all of those other performance EVs? Well, they've done a lot, an awful lot as it transpires. And in this week's road test review, I'm going to tell you all about that. But before I do that, would you mind, please, ever so much, making sure that you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, press the little bell button that's down below, because that's the way you get notified when our next video is uploaded and it goes live. Once you've watched it, if you do enjoy it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and of course, don't forget, leave me your comments down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the car's review, such as the new Hyundai Ioniq 5N, and then of course, on the channel as a whole. Right. Let's get started. Whoa, 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 slow your horses down, Bryan. I know you're keen to get on with the road test. But before we do, let's take a little snapshot of what the Hyundai Ioniq 5N is all about. Well, the new Ioniq 5N is the first fully electric car developed under the company's N division. It features dual motors with up to 650 brake horsepower of power available. Now, as well as having enhanced performance, styling inside and out, the car's chassis has been completely re-engineered to focus on driver engagement. It does have an 84 kilowatt-hour battery that's capable of delivering up to 278 miles on a single charge, according to WLTP figures. And it's priced from £65,000 in the UK before options, with delivery starting now. Now, I know you're hearing driver-focused an electric car in the same sentence. However, this time things are really going to be different. How different? Well, the only way you're going to find out is by watching this, the road test that actual car buyers trust when it comes to choosing their next electric car, the AutoEV one. Now, as always, we're going to start with the styling of it. Now, the Ioniq 5 has been with us for a little while now, and it still looks as good in that kind of retro 1980s bitmap way that it did when we first saw the car. It's still a car that turns my head whenever I see them driving down the street. But what is it? Because you look at them in the pictures and you think, well, it's a C-sector hatchback. It's the same size as a Volkswagen ID3 or a Cupra Born or a Renault Megane E-Tech. And then you get up close to it, and it's anything but like that. The thing's huge. I mean, it's nearly 5 metres long. The wheelbase is as long as a Range Rover's. It's nearly 3 metres long. So is it a big hot hatch? Well, I'm not really sure. I'm not going to call it an SUV, and I think I would even stop short of calling it a crossover. Whatever it is, it looks fantastic. And to make the N model, they've gone even better. Now, there's a lot of the styling changes are functional, as you can imagine. It's to do with airflow management and getting cooling into the batteries. Now, we're going to talk a lot about technicalities in this road test review, so I hope you're ready for it. If you're a bit of a car nerd, this is for you. Right, down the front, we have redesigned sort of like frontal area here. Of course, you've got these big kind of sort of like big chin spoiler, the jutting chin spoiler. It still retains its sort of like I say, it's 1980s kind of bitmap style headlights there, which I just love. And then this blank panel that goes across there with a little camera. You've now got this luminous orange stripe there, and then round the lower half of the car. That's going to be the sort of like the N brand's kind of signature stripe, if you like. Now, a lot of the cars you'll see are obviously in the kind of Hyundai blue. This is something orange, which I really like. I've chosen this because I think it looks spectacular in this colour, I really do. Anyway, let's go down the front here. We've got this redesigned kind of mesh area down here, which is fully functional, and behind here you've also got sort of like the active aero flaps as well, so they will open and close depending obviously on what cooling is actually needed. You've got air curtains round the side there. These are functional, they take air around the big alloy wheels round the side, and of course you've got the big bold blackened out Hyundai badge on the bonnet of it. It looks aggressive, it looks mean, it looks exactly as you want a performance car to look from the front. This comes up behind you, you have got no pretensions to think that it's anything other than a quick car that's about to go past you. You've got these kind of slashes now, where they used to have the kind of lights in the standard car, it's got almost like vented kind of moustache along the front, and again, as I say, that luminescent orange band there, and the little N badge. We are off to a flying start. Now, as you move around the side of the car, your eyes are visually assaulted by these beautiful 21-inch alloy wheels, and they're wrapped in 275/35 ZR21 Pirelli P0 tyres. None of your eco rubbish, this is proper performance car credentials. Talking of performance, these brakes, 400 millimeter discs, ventilated discs at the front with a monoblock 4-piston caliper to aid with the stopping. The braking of this car is sensational, and we will talk about that when we're driving it. The whole car sits 200 millimeters lower to the ground than a standard Ioniq 5. As well as that, there is an additional 42 welding spots through the car, and more than 2.1 metres of additional adhesive used in its construction to aid with the torsional rigidity of the actual car itself. As well as that, Hyundai N division have also beefed up the mounting points for the battery and the motors. This is a serious performance car. They've not just tweaked the motor up, they've gone to town on this. Now, back to styling. Look, you've lost those kind of hatchings through the wheel arches, these that you get in a standard car. These are all smoothed over now. And you see at the bottom there, you get that luminescent stripe down the car. So irrespective of the body colour, you're going to have that black strip with a luminescent orange through it. And that comes up into this little orange blade here with the N logo in it. And that's vented as well as the vent here on this rear wheel arch, just to allow airflow around those big rear tyres. Standard, you get the gloss black kind of stuff as standard, you get the pop-out door handles that you do in a standard Ioniq 5, and at the rear you've got a unique spoiler to the N model, which has got a different brake light in it as well. But it's still an Ioniq 5. Look at these sharp creases, and it's still the car that I absolutely love the design of. Look at that lovely line running down through there. But in this colour, with all these extra bits on it, is anybody else getting Lancia Delta Integrale vibes, or is it just me? And round the back, more of the same. To say, that unique spoiler to the N model, you get this lovely little triangular high level brake light there. Rear wiper, thanks Hyundai, you've been promising that, good to see it. You still get the beautiful kind of pixelated bitmap rear sort of like lamp bar with the Ioniq 5 embossed into it, and this nice kind of matte kind of silver finish underneath it, but again that luminescent kind of stripe, which obviously is in line with this, the brake light, and then obviously the stripe that's down the front. The bottom is again unique to the N, and you can see that it's an additional 80 millimeters long, this car, thanks to this rear diffuser here. And of course you get the fog light down there, but much more airflow underneath there to optimize the aerodynamics in the car. And then the checkered plate lights, the reflectors through there as well. Of course you get usual kind of practical stuff like parking sensors, a reversing camera just there, but again you can just see where that there's a little bit of kind of fake vent in there, but much more kind of like stylized than you'd expect. And of course just the N badge at the back there to finish it all off. What do we think? Well, I think by now you've probably gathered I'm quite excited by this car. It looks sensational. It looks like a proper big hot hatch. I love the way that what they've done with this car. In the same way that I was disappointed with the fact that MG didn't really do anything to donate the X power from the standard MG4, Hyundai have gone the other way, and I absolutely love it. Why buy a car that has this type of performance and not shout about it? I think it's an absolute winner. I think it's one of the best looking cars on the road today. I think they've taken a shape that was already excellent, a design that was already brilliant, and made it even better. But what do I know? Let's be honest. It's you guys that are out there buying these cars. What do you think? Is this tempting you? Are you just about to go and cancel your K EV6 GT order on the basis of this? Or your Porsche Taycan order? Let me know your thoughts about the new Ioniq 5N in the comment section down below. So practicality wise, well, it's still an Ioniq 5, but you are down on practicality a little bit. The boot space is a little bit shallower at 480 litres. And there is some underfloor storage for cables right at the back there. If I remove this floor, it's there. And if you fold the split 60-40 fold rear seat down, that goes up to 1,540 litres as a total capacity. So it is a big car in terms of its boot space. Now, I don't have my suitcases with me today because we're at the UK Media Drives at Cafe and Machine, so what else can I show you to give you an example of how big the boot is? There we go. We can get a few Finleys in the boot, can't we, buddy? There we are. So, still retains the practicality that you would expect from the Ioniq 5. However, you do also lose the front boot, the front, the fruit, whatever you want to call it. But again, that's to do with the fact that there's twin motors in this car and an awful lot of tech inside it. But even so, that's still a practical size boot, I would suggest, for a family car. So as well as the car retaining the practicality of the boot space, it also retains the practicality of the rear seat accommodation. Now, the first thing to discuss, which is something that I noted when I first had the Ioniq 5 when it first came out, is how wide these doors open. They open almost 90 degrees to the body shell. And because it has lowered a little bit, the step into the car is even easier. So if you are of limited mobility, or you're taking your grandparents out for a quick blast around the Nordschleife, then getting in and out the back is going to be absolutely a doddle to them because there's good access here. As well, if you're loading children into the back, with child seats, and of course if you're going to get the ISOFIX points on the seats as well, there's one on either side here, it makes loading the kids in and out a lot easier. It's based on the EGMP platform, Hyundai Group's sort of platform that they've been using, their EV, bespoke EV platform that sees cars as go all the way from the new small Kia that's coming out to sort of the big EV9 to this, to the EV6, to the Ioniq 6 saloon. So it's used across a plethora of EVs, and you can tell how well it works. There is a completely flat floor across, so 5 in this car isn't a problem. You will get a third person on the rear bench as well. They might not be completely that comfortable, sitting on this kind of slightly raised middle bit, but you can fit someone in here. And as I say, you've got a big door to close, and in the doors you've got the sun visors. You've got huge big door bins. They're not particularly deep, but they are relatively big for putting iPads in or books in. Plus they're shaped also for water bottles as well. You've also got heated rear seats in the car. You've got face vents at good level there. We've got 2 USB-C charging ports there for rear seat passengers. Plus we also have a flip down armrest with the cup holders here. As well as that, you can also slide the rear seats forward or back to get either increased legroom or increased boot space. So it's all adding up, despite being sort of like that kind of high performance car, to being also a very practical high performance car. Headroom's good. This car is fitted with the option, one of the only options you can have, which is the panoramic glass sunroof. But for me, it's absolutely fine. I would think for anybody 6 foot, it's perfect. The only thing is just slightly tight underneath the front seats, but that's in my position with the seat quite low. So foot space there, but actually there's plenty of leg space. You don't need to tuck your feet underneath the seats. So it's as practical as an Ioniq 5 has always been. Now, much like the exterior, Hyundai have done quite a lot to the interior of the Ioniq 5 to make it the Ioniq 5N. There's familiarity and there's some changes. So let me talk about those now. So facing us, we've still got the twin screen display, the 12.3 inch driver information display, and also the 12.3 inch infotainment screen as well. That remains as is. The buttons down here remain as is. Gone's that kind of silvery finish. They're now all done a kind of dark, kind of grey finish, but you still got your touch sensitive climate control screen down here as well, which is quite nice to see. This has changed here. You can see you've now got this big centre console, and it's padded on the side so that obviously when you're in a more enthusiastic driving mode, you've got a brace for your knee, which is brilliant and really welcome addition to the car. But you don't really lose a huge amount of practicality. You still have this sort of like open console behind it with the twin cup holders. We've got a wireless charging pad there. We've got 3 USB-C ports around it. We've also got a 12-volt socket there, parking cameras and parking assist buttons, as well as the usual glove box and nice big door bins with bottles, shape for bottles. So that's the bit of the Ioniq 5 dash that's sort of changed for the better. But look at this. We've now got one-piece backrest sports seats, which have got this kind of leatherette and then Alcantara finish in the middle of them. We've got this buttoned, festooned 3-spoke steering wheel that has just got so much going on with it. It looks like it's migrated out of a 15-year-old's game console in their bedroom into your dad's Korean hatchback. Just look at it. There's so much going on here. Drive modes, NGB button, talk about that later. 2 N buttons, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Your drive mode select button is obviously down by your right knee, as it always has been, in the usual kind of smattering of switches round about. You also still get heated seats and ventilated seats. Whilst they're manually adjustable, they are still heated and ventilated. And the steering wheel's heated as well. So as much as I thingied Kia for saying about the manual seats on the EV6 GT, at least they're heated and ventilated. I'll give you that, Hyundai. Right, the screens themselves. When you go into these screens, obviously you've got things like your wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth. You've got various different things that you can, obviously navigation. Now it's also, as well as the wireless Apple CarPlay, you've also got the upgraded, I think it's called the CNNC Hyundai navigation system, a much faster processor in it, so the processing power is much quicker. You also get augmented reality in the head-up display as well, so that is really improved, and the graphics are really nice as well. So that's one thing to mention with regards to that. However, if I press N mode, look at all this. Look at this, what it all does. You've got track, you've got battery. Now I'm going to talk about those when we're out driving it. N torque distribution, N pedal, N race, N drift optimizer. Percentage for accelerator pedal and brake pedal. You've got a lap timer. Why has it done that? Don't do that. I don't want you to do that. Go back a little bit. Circuit. You press circuit and you get maps of the circuits that you're at. Now there's a reason for this. There is a reason for it. I mean, there's Nürburgring, there's Zandvoort, there's the Ascari. That's a brilliant circuit, Ascari. I've driven around that a few times. Goodwood, Knockhill, up in sunny Scotland. That's there as well. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And again, it's not for just showing off. There is a reason for all this being here. You've got things like your lap timers. You've got different, auxiliary gauges as well you can have set up through it. What's this one here? N launch control, all of that. There is a huge amount to talk about when we're driving this car. And also, when I press these buttons here, I'm make sure I get the right one now. Hang on a second. Well, that's that one. It's maybe not. All this changes as well. This whole display changes as well. I'm going to chat about the noise when we're out driving the car, but it's got noise. good noise. The driving position is absolutely spot on. As I say, it is a big car, the Ioniq 5N, you know, it always has been. But, and I'm not suggesting it kind of shrinks around you, but the seat really clamps you in place. You get an excellent driving position. I don't feel like it's being pinched in on, you know, so my sides are being pinched, my legs are being pinched. The relationship I have with the steering wheel, I'm able to see, I think they've changed this graphic a little bit. So this is different now. It's not quite cut off now like it used to be with the steering wheel on the Ioniq 5. So that's all good. You still get, you know, your usual stuff that you want in the Ioniq 5. So your cruise control, your lane keep assist, you know, your Bluetooth, your media all over here, a favourite button, that's all there. But there's just so much more now, and it's all to do with how the car drives. So I'm going to stop waffling about buttons and switches and get on to the bit where we can go for a drive in the car, because trust me, that's the bit you want to see. All I will say is this: the Ioniq 5 interior, all the great bits remain, and they've enhanced it when they've added all the end bits into it. Now, there was a word I mentioned right at the start of the video, responsibility. And that's a really important word. It always has been with Hyundai, because when it comes to sustainability, they've even upped the game when it comes to this end. So it's not all about performance. The interior has to be commended in a lot of ways. You've got a huge amount of recycled materials being used in this car. Paperette in the door card finishes. You've got PET recycled sugarcane used in in various bits of the car. You've got recycled plastic bottles being used as part of the trim as well. The leatherette is an eco-processed leather. Even the Alcantara on the seat inserts is a recycled Alcantara material. So it's not all just about performance. They are taking their responsibility towards a greener environment very seriously indeed. Right, let's talk about batteries. 84 kilowatt hour battery, which should see a WLTP range of up to 278 miles on a single charge. Now, bear with me a little bit on that for a second. It also is part of obviously Hyundai Group's eGMP platform cars, as I say, so of course you benefit from 800 volt architecture at this level of the eGMP, and that means also charging speeds of 240 kilowatts, meaning you can go from the benchmark 10 to 80% from one of those ultra rapid chargers in around about 18 minutes. But that 280 something mile range, as I said to you earlier, obviously the harder you drive it, and they're not hiding the fact that many owners may want to use the car on a track. That will obviously impact that overall range. But think about it for a second. Most racetracks in the UK, a couple of miles long at the very, very most. So you've still got a lot of laps in the car, even though you're absolutely hammering it. And there is a way you can set the car up so that what the electronic architecture actually does is either focuses more on endurance, so keeps the battery cooler for longer to increase the range, or gives you more power and depletes the battery faster for faster lap times. So it is very, very clever stuff. And even if you only manage, like, I don't know, 10 laps or whatever, that's exhausting. You're going to come in and you're going to stop and have a bit of lunch, in which time you can charge the car back up to get back out again. Now, it also features a heat pump as standard and an onboard 11 kilowatt charger as standard as well. So that 3-phase electricity, if you have the more powerful wall boxes, that is available to you as well. But if it's the more likely 7 kilowatt wall box that you've got at home, then charging from flat to full is around about 11 hours 45 minutes. Oh, and of course, the car comes with the usual vehicle to load functionality as well. If you do want to power outside equipment, I don't know, maybe something like a compressor for a drill to change your tyres when you're at the track. Why not? Now at the moment, I'm driving a Hyundai Ioniq 5. And that is part of the party piece with the new Ioniq 5N. Because when you're not really in the mood for it, it's just an Ioniq 5N. It drives along. It's not even what I would call a firm ride. Yeah, you can feel it's a little bit firmer, but it's no It's certainly not firmer than my new long-term test car, which is very firm indeed. It's pleasant, it's nice, it's practical, it's quiet. However, when I want to change things a little bit, when I want to up the game a little bit, I can do that. And I don't mean just with this drive mode button that's up on top of the steering wheel here, where I go from eco, normal and sport. No. There's much more to it than that. Now, this is a very powerful car. There's no doubt about that. It has just shy of 650 horsepower in total, because in normal mode it produces 609. But when you're using the overboost, that increases it up to nigh on 650. It has 545 pounds per foot of torque, which means that it will scamper its way from 0 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds. All good so far. You'll say to me, well Brian, there's other EVs that are faster than that. Why are you getting all so worked up about this one? The reason is that the numbers are only part of it. Forget everything else about fast EVs, because not one of them can touch this as a driver's car. And it's all thanks to these little N buttons. Because if I press these N buttons down here, things happen. Noise happens. Gears happen. How on earth does that work, you say? How has it got gears? Believe it or not, it is an 8-speed gearbox. Well, it pretends it has an 8-speed gearbox. It's all to do with software. In there somewhere, there is software that says you've got an 8-speed gearbox. And I've got 2 paddles behind the steering wheel that I can use to shift through those ratios if I want. And how it does it is, as I'm accelerating, when I upshift, what it will do is it will disconnect the motor and give me that jolt, as if I've just changed gear. Listen and watch. Now you're also hearing noise, and it's obviously fake noise, but the noise itself that it's at the moment, this I think it's called ignition, is basically taken from the noise that the inline 4-cylinder turbocharged 2-litre engine from the i20N and the i30N make, and they've digitised it and made it better and stuck it in here. And I'm sorry, but I love it. Why would you not? Why would you not love something that makes you smile? And this car makes me smile more than any other fast EV that I have driven. Now, let me go even further than this, because there is so much more to this car than just making noise and simulating gear shifts and being fast. Of course there is. It's also a real proper driver's car. When I said to you that the car has been focused as a driver's car, listen. It hits a limiter and waits for the gear. So it doesn't deliver all that power in that second gear. It delivered some power and then bounced off the limiter and waited for me to go into third, and then started with more power. And it will do the same until I go to fourth and do. It's interactive with you as a driver. So it's not like the little Abarth, which has that sound generator, which just sounds like a big continuously variable transmission that doesn't stop. This is a genuine driver's car. You interact with it. It performs like an internal combustion engine car. It does the same things. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Listen to that little fart on the downshift. Right, you can also disconnect the front motor. There's a setting. You can go in there and disconnect the front motor so that it becomes rear biased. Oh, I'm sorry, I should be concentrating, but I can't. I'm just having too much fun. You don't get all the power going to the rear wheels, because obviously it's going to be 300 and something horsepower. But even so, a 300 odd horsepower rear drive hot hatch is pretty decent. And it has a drift mode. A drift mode. Now, I'm not going to do that today on the lovely little sunny roads of Warwickshire, because that would be irresponsible. And I've got my dog in the car. Listen to it! And you know what? The best thing is, it's not uncomfortable. It's still a comfortable Ioniq 5. It's brilliant. It is. I cannot tell you how good this car is. I knew it was going to be good. I had no idea it was going to be as good as this. This is simply superb. Now, as well as the drift mode, you've also got an electronic limited slip differential. You have, believe it or not, an eLSD that has 11 torque settings. 11. Not 10. They didn't make 10 more. They made 11. Somebody at Hyundai is a bit of a Nigel Tufnell fan. Somebody likes a bit of the tap, the spinal tap. This goes up to 11. Genuinely. Now let's discuss the brakes, because I was talking about them as well. The brakes are obviously very powerful indeed. They're the most powerful brakes that Hyundai have done. You can have obviously the various levels of regen set up as well. So you can drive it like, as I say, like the normal Hyundai Ioniq 5. If I come into that mode and do that, and I can now vary the level of regen I get. That's on 1, that paddle 2, 3 and max, and that's me coming off the pedal. See, so you can adjust the regen on the car. That's good. Oh, sorry, it was a downshift. And what it will also do is the brakes are so powerful, you can go up to something like 0.6 of a G in natural regen scenarios, and when it's in the N regen setting, it has an N regen. There's so many settings on the car. There are so many settings on the car. It's absolutely incredible. You can just set this up exactly how you want it. And if you're one of those people that's going to sit and say, oh, I don't want any of all of that, that's a load of rubbish. Why do you need to do all of that? Why do you have to go and set it all up? Performance cars have been doing this for years. Nissan with the GTR, BMW M Series, they've always had it so as a driver you can play around with it and set the car up how you want. So why can't you do it with an EV? Why can't you have a little bit of fun? Well, you can now, and it's with this car. And it's bloody brilliant. And I love it. Oh, Hyundai, whatever you were on when you came up with this car, please have more of it. Please have more of it. This is incredible. Be under no illusions about this. This car is a line in the sand moment. And I don't say that for dramatic effect. I really don't. I say that as a true petrol head, as a driving enthusiast. This thing is an absolute sensation. But be under no illusion, away from all the kind of funny farty gear shifts and the flashy lights and all the E-diffs and LSDs and drift modes and all the rest of it. Underneath all of that, the fundamentals are that this is a staggeringly capable car and a hugely enjoyable one to drive. In fact, I don't think I have driven a car, an electric car, in the 5 years of doing this job that is as good as this. And I mean that. That's a big statement to make. This is a line in the sand moment. Because when you think about sort of like the engineering departments of all the big legacy manufacturers, you know, sort of like the M division at BMW, AMG with Mercedes, Audi's, Quattro, GmbH, none of them have come up with something that can even hold a candle to this. And I'm not talking about speed. That's not what I'm talking about. It's the blend of control, the blend of interaction, just the way this thing goes down the road. It's not hard-edged, it's not hard on your back, it's not an assault on the eardrums. It's everything that you want in an Ioniq 5 when you don't want to turn all the things on. But when you're in the car and you're in the mood for it, and you do turn them all on, God, this thing delivers. It is absolutely breathtakingly good. It is a simply staggering car. End of. No more to say. I absolutely adore this car. So price, what are you looking at for Ioniq 5N? Well, it's quite simple. It's £65,000, and there's only really two options you can have. It's an optional paint finish and the panoramic glass sunroof. Now, £65,000 isn't exactly hot hatch money, but then again, it's not uncommon to find Golf Rs. It's sort of like well in excess of £55,000, depending on options fitted, and that's only getting more. And think about this: when we tested those sort of like other performance SUVs just not that long since ago, the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT, which really wasn't as good as it really should be, is £10,000 more than this car. All right then, what else are you going to spend your money on? Well, as I say, there's kind of three cars that spring to mind, which are the three cars that we recently tested, two of which are spun from the same eGMP platform and use quite a lot of the hardware from this car. And of course, that's the Kia EV6 GT and the Genesis, the GV60 Premium Sport Plus. From Ford, as I say, there's the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT as well. Now that's a little bit, in fact, all of the three of those cars are down on the power of the Ioniq 5. But even so, they are sort of like the more kind of, dare I suggest, driver focused within their respective ranges. Moving away sort of like from whatever sort of like this car sort of like genre is, you might, and I do mean this, you might also consider cars such as the Porsche Taycan and the Audi e-tron RS GT. You know, they're fast, they're sort of like grand tourers, there's an air of practicality about them. They do cost a lot more money than this, but in terms of the performance, they're not far off, and in terms of the breadth of ability as a driver's car, that's important. There's another couple of cars which are coming out soon, which you could also see as key rivals for this car, but again, maybe not quite so performance focused. Of course, Porsche's new Macan has gone all electric, and if you see all this as an SUV kind of crossover, then that car is going to be a rival, as well as Polestar 4, which is a car I'm going to be driving very, very soon, and we'll bring you the full road test review on that car. So that, I think, is your main rivals for this one. And if anybody out there is going to sit there and tell me a Tesla Model Y performance is quicker than this, hold your wisht, because I'll tell you now, a Tesla Model Y performance is nowhere near as good to drive as this car. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not even in the running. So here's what we like and what we don't like about the new Hyundai Ioniq 5N. We like everything. Absolutely everything. We don't like, well, the fact that none of us have £65,000 to buy it, but otherwise we genuinely can't fault it. I think by now you'll probably have gathered how much I like this car. Let me be very clear about this. This is a line in the sand moment for the electric car. We will look back at the point when the Hyundai Ioniq 5N came out and delivered in the way in which it has. If you're one of these petrol heads that are out there thinking that an electric car cannot deliver the same thrills that an internal combustion engine car can, trust me when I say this, as a man who has spent nearly 30 years in the motor industry driving some of the fastest and most valuable cars in the world, this thing is a game changer. And I don't mean Tesla game changing, I mean complete car game changing. It's absolutely 100% outstanding in every single way. Thank you for watching yet another episode of AutoEV. As always, please make sure you are subscribed to the AutoEV channel. Then once you've done that, press the little bell button down below, because that's the way you'll get notified of when our next video is uploaded and it's gone live. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and of course, don't forget, leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about the cars review, such as Hyundai's Ioniq 5N, and of course, on the AutoEV channel as a whole. Now remember, we're also across all social media platforms as well, so TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, X, all of that, all the social stuff, we're there as well. So please give us a follow there, because every little bit does help. And if you're in the marketplace for an electric car, whether or not it's a new one or a used one, then have a delve through the catalogue of videos that we've got on the YouTube channel, because if it's been a new car, electric car to hit the market in the last 4 or 5 years, we'll have subjected it to the full AutoEV road test, so you've got all the information you need to make your buying decision that little bit easier. Talking about making decisions, I have to make the very difficult one now of going to hand these keys back to the man from Hyundai who stood over there. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thank you again for supporting the channel. I'll see you again soon.